Hey everybody, it's your girl Tenacious, and I am doing my first ever interview, and I'm interviewing my grandmother, Alberta Robertson. So she is here to tell us about her life story. And I know it's kind of cliche to interview a family member, but she has had such an interesting life, and I want to capture it because I want to share it with the rest of the family and especially my twin girls. So just talk to us and introduce yourself, and then we'll go into your life story.
Yes, my name is Alberta Carr Robertson, and the Carr part comes from my mother and my grandmother and my grandfather and my grandmother, Lloyd and Martha Carr, who raised me from a baby almost until now. that's not true, but anyway, that the first part is true. I remember very distinctively 1940. I don't know why that year sticks in my mind. But my grandfather, who was my best friend for 7 years, the 7 years of my life, I could get away with anything. My grandfather only got to me one time when I got fresh with him and told him to go pick up his shoes himself. His hands wasn't put on backward. I heard my grandmother say that to him sometimes when he would ask her to do something. She would say, Lord, do that yourself because your hands not put on backward. I thought that was the funniest thing I had ever heard. And the reason I got in trouble about that, the preacher that lived just down the road from us was visiting with my grandfather. And my grandfather was going to drive him to town, our little town due west South Carolina. And my grandfather said, baby, he used to call me baby, Bert, Horn, and what else was that he called me? Anyway, they were all sweet names. And he asked me what one of those names to go in and bring his shoes. And I told him, go yourself, Daddy, your hand's not put on backward. And Reverend Hawthorne laughed about it, and I thought that was the funniest thing. Oh, he laughed at me. I thought I had gotten over. But I didn't get over so well. My grandfather had never spanked me to my knowledge. But that day, he was embarrassed when I decided to tell him his hands wasn't put on backward. And Reverend Hawthorne laughed about it. I thought I had gotten over it. I thought I had done something really cute. But anyway, I decided to take off running when my grandfather got a strap at me. No, it was a switch. I took off running, but I couldn't get across the ditch, and so he caught me. And my grandfather fanned me very well. I got away from him, and by the time he got back to the house, which was just not too far away, I had his shoes, his boots, and everything out for him to take his pick of what he wanted to wear to town to carry up in the house. But anyway, my grandfather passed away very suddenly. I was the last one to see him before he got ill. He took ill on his way to Abbeville, and usually I could ride with him, but that day he told me I couldn't go. I think he felt something coming on because he didn't make it to Abbeville. He got sick and lost consciousness. Thank God he didn't wreck the car. And I think he must have known something was going to happen. And my grandfather passed away 3 o'clock that morning. And by that time, the mayor of the town knew him very well and liked my grandfather very well. And he got my grandmother and collected us, and we went to the hospital. And my grandfather was unconscious. About 3 o'clock in the morning, we were all around the bed, and my grandfather, I remember very distinctly, cleared his throat, opened his eyes, and turned his head and looked directly at me. I remember that as if it were yesterday. And he closed his eyes after he looked at me, and he was gone into eternity. Well, my grandfather was gone. We're not going to deal with that. I remember him very distinctively to this day. After my grandfather died, we lived alone, my grandmother, my aunt, and myself. And that was a lonely time, of course. We got through that. And we moved from the country to town, which was a very little town. It was college town, due west, South Carolina. And I lived near the school, which was wonderful for me. I just walked down the road to the school. And that was that.
So
And
what kind of student were you?
I was a good student.
A good
A
student.
very good student.
Okay.
Yeah, I stayed on the honor roll.
Okay.
I stayed on the honor roll. But the one thing, I was on the honor roll for scholastics. But I talked in class, which was not very good.
Oh boy.
And I played in class because the lessons were not hard for me. But some students, they didn't make it up the way I did. I got in a lot of trouble, stood in the corner a lot for talking. But I would talk I would turn around from when the teacher wasn't looking, and I did that through high school.
Oh boy.
It didn't stop. I was clownish.
Why does that sound so familiar? I think it trickled down to some of us.
I think it trickled down. Yes.
Okay. And would you say that you were a confident child?
Confident.
Yeah.
Yes, I was very confident.
So give us an example of how you exuded some of your confidence.
Well, when I would do things, I didn't think too much about the consequences until the consequences came.
Okay.
And then I would figure out a way how to get around the consequences. And at times I was good at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people would tell you, I mean, because obviously you're an attractive woman.
Well, thank you.
I mean, this is my grandma. I get my good looks from her. So, and people would say, you know, you were pretty.
Oh, yes. And you know what I would say? I know it. And my grandmother would say, don't say that. Say thank you. Thank you. I know it. I know it. Follow whatever they said about me. It followed.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you were raised by your grandparents. So who were your closest relatives growing up?
My grandmother and my Aunt Olivia. Yes. Because that's where I didn't know my mother was my mother until later on in life, because I called my grandmother Mama. And I called her Mama until this day, and she's been deceased since 1976.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And to this day, she's still Mama. My mother was Mother. That's who she was. She was my mother because she was my she biologically brought me into this world. But I didn't know her as Mama. I knew her as Mother.
Okay.
I loved her. She lived with me until she passed away in 2007.
Yeah, 2007.
Yes.
Okay. We'll definitely talk more about that later on.
Yeah.
So you had your Aunt Olivia.
Yes.
And my great-great-grandma Martha.
Yes.
And then there was also Aunt Sarah as well.
Oh, Aunt Sarah was like, she tried to take me, like a daughter. I was like a daughter to her because when she passed away, I was the one who got everything that she had owned.
Oh, wow.
Bank account, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, wow.
Yes.
So she took you on. So you grew up with a lot of love.
Yes. Yes.
Which is what also transferred over to me.
Yes.
And my cousins, we got a lot of love from you.
Yes.
So you were a good student.
Yes.
You're an excellent student.
Yes.
I feel like we are very similar. Smart, but just a little bit clownish in a way. And
that
so
clownism for me.
You graduated from high school.
Yes.
And then you went on to do what after that?
After high school, I went to Mather School. That was a private school for girls.
And was it for girls of all races or just African Americans?
Well, it was just African Americans, but we had mixed. Our teachers, our principal, Miss Both, was white, and we had a mixed. What do you call it? Our teachers, principal,
staff, faculty.
Faculty. That's right. That's it. Faculty. And it was a private school, and that school was Mather School. Rachel Crane Mather, a very rich white woman, came down and opened up that school for black girls right after slavery.
Okay.
And I believe it was 1868 when that school was.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. So that was very soon after slavery. So you were born what year again?
1934.
Okay, and I was about to say that. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure I didn't get it wrong.
1934.
So, and I should know that because you just had a birthday.
Yeah.
So, what was it like growing up in the South as a black woman, as a black youth?
Well, it was segregated, and you're born into segregation. It didn't affect me directly, yet it did in some ways, of course, never negatively.
Okay.
No, never negatively. My grandmother, we lived in the country for a while, and then we moved to town, which was the West. And I guess blacks sort of stayed with each other, and we got along. I don't remember any really ugly things with the white people. We got along well.
Okay.
We did. We got along well. Although there were times I was friends with a girl. She was my age, Sudie Prince. She was a white girl, and we played together. And I remember distinctly we got to be good friends around 10 or 11. Played together and never had any problems. And when she became 14, for some reason, she started to get a little bit different, but not bad.
Okay.
And I think it was my 14th birthday, she said, "You're 14 now too now." She said, "Alberta." I said, "Yeah." She said, "We're both 14 now, and I'm getting to be grown." I said, "We're not grown yet, not until we get 18. She said, "Yeah, I know." She said, "But when are you going to call me Miss? When are you going to call me Miss Susie?" I said, "When you call me Miss Alberta." And she said, "Well, you're colored, and colored people call us Miss. We don't have to call you Miss. So when you go say miss me," I said, "You know when I'm going to miss you?" I said, "If you hit me, and I'm going to hit at you and miss you. That's the only miss you're going to get from me." So that was over. So the friendship, of course, it went downhill.
Okay. And you kind of just grew apart.
We grew apart. We were never ugly to each other, but we grew apart. Yes.
Okay.
And after that, I worked as a babysitter for Mr. David Edwards. And they had a baby, little Dave. He had red hair. That baby fell in love with me, cried when I would leave to go home, and then Of course, this was during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and I would work there. But when I would leave to go home in the afternoon, he would cry. He didn't want to leave me. He didn't want me to leave him.
Mm-hmm.
And until I went away to Mathis, when I would sit with him, babysit him, until I went away to Mathis when I was 15 years old. And when I left to go, I cried because he cried.
Oh.
Yeah. And he had grown up a little. He had grown up something. He was 2 or 3 years old. And he didn't want me.
And this was a white family?
Oh, this was a white family.
Okay.
And when I would come home for Christmas, Mr. Dave, his father, and Miss Edith would bring him to see me. And he still remembered me.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, he still remembered me.
That's sweet.
And I often wondered whatever happened to David, because he had a little illness. I often wondered whatever happened to him.
Okay.
Yeah, because I went away. After Mather, I went to Philadelphia to stay with my aunt.
Okay.
She sent me. And I went to school in Philadelphia.
Which aunt?
Huh?
And which aunt?
Aunt Sarah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I went to Philadelphia, and I went to Temple for some courses.
Okay, you
Yeah.
went to Temple. I did not know that.
Yeah, I went to Temple.
Oh, wow.
And then after going there, I enrolled in, they had a practical nursing school. And I knew I wanted to be a nurse. And I enrolled in that. And then I finished, I got my practical nursing license.
Okay.
Yeah. And I intended to go back there, and just keep going, be an RN. But I changed that.
Okay.
Yeah, then I moved to New York from Philadelphia. And then I got a job with United Methodist Board of Global Ministries.
Okay.
Good job. So nursing went another way, because I would get emotionally involved with my patients.
Mm-hmm.
I was a good nurse.
I believe it.
I was good because I loved people.
Uh-huh.
And I love doing things for people. And I did do nursing. I did private duty nursing. And worked in the hospital. Worked at St. Joseph's Hospital. That was a Catholic hospital.
Uh-huh.
And I would get myself too involved, emotionally involved. If one of my patients would, expire, which means that would die, that would just tear me up.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be concerned, and but you couldn't just try to follow them.
And didn't you also have some other nurses in the family as well?
I believe so. Let's see who else is nurses in the family. Oh. At 88, it's hard to recall, but I'm sure we had some RNs in the family. I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
Yeah. But right now I can't record it. I record it after this is over.
So, cause I thought Sarah was a nurse.
Who?
Aunt Sarah.
No, my mother was an LPN.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, my mother Lorraine, she was in it, but she didn't do that until after I did it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what did she do? What was her career?
She was she was a domestic,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know a whole lot about what my mother did, except that I didn't know that she was my mother until I was up in age. Well, not up in age,
Mm-hmm.
but I always thought my grandmother was my mother.
Mm-hmm.
That was because she was mama. She was mama until now.
Mm-hmm.
She's long gone, but she's still mama. And my mother asked me one day after we were living together. My mother came to live with me in 1988. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
I brought her to come and live with me
Mm-hmm.
because she was living in U.S. alone. And she wasn't old, but I just didn't think that she ought to live alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought her to live with me. And she lived with me from 88 until 2007.
Okay.
When she...
So when did you get to know your father?
Oh, I got to know who my father was early in life. I just got to really, after I came out of Mather, when I left Mather, I graduated from Mather, and moved with my aunt to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt Sarah and my father and his sister, who lived in Philadelphia, called him and told him that I was there. My father took the train over that weekend to see me. Of course, I had met him before, but I didn't have no close relationship with him. Whenever he would come south, when I was living with my grandmother, he would come see me.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me back to New York to meet with my sisters, my two little sisters, and two little brothers.
Oh, okay.
They were younger than me. I call them Bill. And we developed a friendship as though we grew up together. They loved me dearly, and I loved them dearly. My two brothers are now in heaven with the rest of my relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie was my youngest brother who passed away in 1999.
Oh, wow.
Which broke my heart tremendously. 2 years after my husband died suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gone to visit with Jimmy, and he was sick, but I didn't know he was that sick.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed away in 99. And then my brother Joseph died.
And we call him Uncle June.
Uncle June.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle June passed in 2010.
I remember.
Yes. And now, it's just the three of us now. Me being the oldest, I always have been the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
My sister Sandy and Joni live in Myrtle Beach. All New Yorkers moving to Myrtle Beach. They live in Myrtle Beach.
That seems to be the trend now.
Oh yes, coming to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
That's the place. Yeah.
So that's good that you have a good relationship with your father.
Oh yes.
So you moved to Philadelphia, and then you moved to New York. Mm. So what happened in New York?
I met Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And we just hit it off. I met him at some friends of mine that I work with. The lady, Frances Rogers. They were friends of Phil. Phil's wife had passed away some time ago. He was a widower. Mm-hmm. I think. And I was free. And we met, and he asked me if he could drive me home. Because we had dinner, with the...
So y'all met through some mutual friends?
Yes.
Okay.
And we met, and he drove me home, and he asked me, could he call me? Could he have my number? I said, yeah. He called me when he got home. Mm-hmm. And we started to talk. He worked for the Department of Justice. And I was working for the Board of Global Ministries at that time.
Mm-hmm. It's a good job.
Yeah, oh yes. Oh yes. And we started to talk, and he said, I'm a good cook. And would you come and have dinner with me? He said, no, I'm not rushing anything, but I just like to talk to you. I love talking to you. And he picked me up, and we had dinner, and went from there.
Okay.
To now. He's now gone, but I'm still so much in love with him.
That's so sweet.
Yes. Because he's still taking care of me. Mm-hmm. Better than I take care of myself.
Okay.
Yes.
So, he had a son, which is Uncle Philip.
Yes.
And then you had Mama.
Yes. Yes.
So y'all had a blended family.
Yes.
Yes. And it was beautiful because it's not a stepson or a stepdaughter.
No.
We're just all together.
He made it legal. He adopted her. when she was 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And after we were married, he said, she's going to have my name. And he gave her his name.
Mm-hmm.
And because she was calling him daddy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's the only daddy she's ever known.
The only one she's ever known. Because her biological daddy, he didn't care to be bothered. So that's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
she had a father.
That and that's very just, I guess it's so different back then.
Yes.
Versus now.
Yes.
Because now blended families are kind of like the norm.
Yes.
But now I'm realizing that we did have a lot of blended families back in the day.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
But that was beautiful that you were able to have that family unit.
Yes.
And so what was it like being a mother, though? What was it like the first time? How did you feel?
I love being a mother because I took my mothering skills from my grandmother. Mm-hmm. Because that was the mother that I knew. My mother had me when she was 16. Mm-hmm. And she went away. She left when I was three months old. Mm-hmm. And I really never got to know her. My mother wasn't into children, really. Mm-hmm. That was, something happening. Yeah. She knew I was in good hands with my grandmother. So I knew my grandmother and my grandfather until he passed away as mama and daddy. Mm-hmm. That's what I call them.
And even back in those days, being pregnant at a young age, a lot of the times the woman would get shunned by the community.
Yes, yes.
And so nowadays, you get a TV show and a check for it now.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yes. Times have changed, but you've always been a loving person, a loving mother.
Yeah.
And even, you're not Uncle Philip's biological mother, but we wouldn't know that.
No. That's my son.
Yeah.
That's my son. I love him. I love him as though I know I didn't bring him into this world, but I was blessed to help to raise him. Mm-hmm. He was 12 when Philip I got married, and I love him dearly.
Yeah, we all do. And you raised him to be such a upstanding man because he takes care of his family. He's very generous and just a hard worker, and and him and Aunt Carol have been married for
forever.
Forever.
They've been married. They got a 50th. It may already be 50 years.
Wow.
It may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50th and God made them for each other.
Yeah. So, and that's what I noticed about your children for the most part, is that each of them have a long marriage.
Oh, yes.
My parents are still together.
Oh, yes. Leslie and Reggie, they're going to be together until God gonna have to say.
So I think you really set a good example for everybody.
Yes.
So you have mom, Philip comes.
Yeah.
And then you said that, Grandpa Phil was 18 years your senior.
Yes. You would never have known it. He could outwalk me, outrun me, outtalk me. We take a walk and I'd be puffing him, going, he had me by the hand, almost dragging me.
Oh boy.
That man is never.
So I don't feel bad because I'm dating, and then guys are just like, oh, I'm a few years older than you. I'm just like, honey, my grandpa was 18 years older than my grandma.
How do he doing anything?
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
And so you got married. When did you get married?
We got married October 15th, 1966.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then after that, and you weren't young. You were
32.
32. So just 1 year older than me at this time because I'm 31. So then you have more children,
Yes, Leslie and Edward.
and you have them pretty much back to back.
They're 20 months apart.
Oh wow. Okay. So now you have 4 kids all together.
All together.
Okay, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So and you're in New York,
Mm.
and so all I've known is for you guys to have been to South Carolina. What prompted that move down to South Carolina?
Phil was born in South Carolina in Hopkins.
Mhm.
Just out, it's in Richland County. I was born in Abbeville County, due west,
Mhm.
up in the country. And we got together, and when we got together, Francis and Cindy's house, we established that we were both from South Carolina. And I told him where I was from. I guess I don't know if you've ever heard due west.
Mhm.
I hadn't heard of Hopkins. And when we got together and really knew that we were going to be together, he brought me down from New York to visit to introduce me to his family. And then from Hopkins, they took me home to Due West to stay with my grandmother. And because she was alive at that time and loved him to death. And I visited with her. They came and picked me. No, we took the bus back. And we went back to New York. And we met December the 5th of 1965. And we were married October the 15th, 1966. So we didn't let up.
Not at all. Y'all
No.
hit the ground running.
We hit the ground running, and we ran until he left me suddenly. August 11th, the day after my birthday.
Okay. So what was it like, the transition? You're raising 4 kids in New York, and then you move back down south.
Well,
Was that like a culture shock?
no. Well, not really.
Mm-hmm.
He had been in New York since he was a kid, off and on. I had been in New York, how long? I guess 15, 16 years I lived in New York. 'Cause I had lived in Philadelphia before then.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, we used to visit every summer.
Oh
We'd
yeah.
come down,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't too bad. We talked about it. And for some reason, we didn't want to stay in New York. That was a good trip. That was a good move.
Yeah. It's a lot slower down here.
That's right.
It's where people want to raise families and things of that sort. So, and y'all moved down here when?
We moved down here. Let me see. When we moved down here? 76.
76.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, you guys weren't really involved in the...
We stayed in New York 10 years after we were married.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like going and seeing like the civil rights movement happening in the South primarily versus you being in New York?
I don't recall any difference really.
Mm-hmm.
Because people they know how to hide, how to shadow things.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw as much, if not more, discrimination in New York as I saw here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. People know how to shadow or try to hide stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're looking dead at it and they're showing themselves,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the discrimination never really bothered me because, not really.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, when you could identify with it and see it happening. I didn't let it bother me.
I think it's just no. People just know immediately, just not to cross you.
That's right. Yeah.
Just-
Because they tried it a few times when I got jobs here.
yeah.
And I was so good at what I did. I worked at the University of South Carolina. And they tried that nonsense.
Uh-huh.
And I saw it before they presented it. Because I knew it was there. And when they tried to really act up, you know, I ignored it until one day one crossed me a little bit. She overstepped her bounds, and I got her straight. And I told her never, ever come in my office again because you are not my supervisor. You are nothing to me. In fact, you are nothing. Don't ever come and stand in front of my desk to address me about nothing. And I didn't have that problem with her.
Oh boy. So you were a tough cookie.
I knew what I was doing and I was good at what I did.
Okay.
And I was better than them at what they were doing.
That's that confidence.
Oh, that was that confidence.
Okay.
That was that assurance.
Okay.
And I could get a job anywhere because when I came in and they saw my skills, they zeroed in on me.
Okay.
I mean, the top echelon. So I didn't have anything to worry about.
Okay. So how did, I guess, my mom and her siblings adjust to moving down here? So it was pretty much just her, Leslie, and
They were too small to do anything about it. They were glad to come.
Okay. And
They
then,
were coming back.
and how were they when they were younger? I know Mom is a few years older than Uncle Edward and Aunt Leslie.
Just 4 years.
Just 4 years.
4 years older.
So how did she take being an older sibling? Because she was the baby for a while.
She was the baby for a while, and she stayed small.
Who did most of the spoiling?
I can't really say because Phil did his share.
Uh-huh.
He did his share. And I had already sort of spoiled her, you know. And Nana and my sisters and my brothers.
Now who's Nana?
That was my stepmother.
Okay.
My father's wife. She was my mom.
Yeah.
She was my mom. She was more of a mom to me than my biological mother.
Yes. And
she took me on. In fact, they were the ones who took Leslie. Tanya on.
Yeah. And
Tanya loved us as a nana.
Yeah, and it's ironic that we call Brianna, who's my cousin, Nana
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Nana torch has been passed.
They've been passed all the way down there.
So, and she's a miraculous woman.
Yes. And do you know I went to New York for my mama's funeral now, and I had a stroke.
Yes.
And couldn't make it to her funeral. And I have not gotten over that.
And I was just thinking about the other day, because I was just like, I know you had the stroke in 2004. But I could not remember why y'all went up to New York and it was her funeral.
Me and Tanya went on the bus together. And she didn't realize the signs of the stroke. It had started on me before we got there. And we stopped at the bus station, and I was having trouble, and Tanya had gone right back on the bus. I guess she thought I was just slow. And I was feeling some kind of way on the bus, but you know, it didn't come out until we got to Sandy's house, no, Jonah's house. and I was slow going upstairs, but I just felt different.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, where Bert? Tanya said, she's coming. And we left Jonah's house and went to Sandy's house. And that's when Sandy saw what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she sent me to the hospital. And they kept me.
Mm-hmm. They kept you for a while.
They kept me overnight. And when next day, I couldn't use my arm.
Mm-hmm.
Edward came and stayed with me. He was supposed to be going to work. He stayed with me. He came at 6 o'clock this morning and stayed with me all day. Because he knew something was wrong with his mom.
Mm-hmm. And that was a time in your life where you were, really concerned because you weren't sure if you were going to be mobile.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I really didn't worry about it too. They kept me at that hospital. And they sent me to another hospital or to rehab
Mm-hmm.
to get rehabilitated. After I was in the hospital, I think 8 days or something like that.
Okay.
And then they sent me to rehab. And that's when I started to, I never worried while I was there for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was because I have a strong faith in God.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with me and I knew it. And after I got to rehab, it just got to be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it got to be fun.
Okay.
And after I came back to South Carolina after getting out of rehab, how did I get home? I flew home. They put me on the plane. There were 2 other people on the plane coming.
Okay.
2 other passengers, and they flew me out of LaGuardia. Philip picked me up from the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
from rehab, and they took me to the airport to LaGuardia and stayed with me, sure that I was going to get on the right plane.
Okay.
Philip and Karen.
And I remember that. I remember also helping taking care of you as well.
Yeah, that's right. After I got to Leslie.
Yeah.
Leslie picked me from the hospital, and Leslie kept me with her until I was able to come back here.
Yeah. So, I mean, because you basically took care of all of us.
Oh, yeah.
And that
At
was,
some point in time.
yeah.
Every last one.
And it was like, literally when that happened, it was like everybody started taking care of you.
Yes, yes. You took care of me a week. Nana took care of me a week, Brianna. And I think all of my granddaughters.
Uh-huh.
Because they all grown then.
Yeah, we were old enough. So, yeah. I mean, that was, something that, I remember. And then I remember when we had, I think it was physical therapy and we had to stretch, and you were just like, I don't want to be a burden. Well, like, you're not a burden.
Yeah.
You've never been a burden at all.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you have always been a blessing to
everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but I understand when you get to a certain age and you're just kind of thinking, okay, am I going to be able to do for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And you're 88 and you're still able to drive.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of it. Good sense tell me you can't do it like you did. Get in the car and drive it the way you want to go.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I could, but I'm not going to take the chances. Good sense tell me, don't try it.
Okay.
Now, I drive around here. I think I could drive to church if I was still going to New Life.
Uh-huh.
I drive to the bank. I drive around here shopping, the little shopping that I do. But since COVID have stopped a lot of that too.
Uh-huh. So have you ever, like, I know, I mean, because really 88 years, that's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're literally living history.
Yes.
Have you ever had anything like COVID happen during your lifetime?
No, not that I remember or can recall. Nothing like this. I'm sure there was something. It seems like there was something else, but Nothing like this.
No.
Mm-mm.
And then also back in those days, we weren't so globalized where
Right.
you can just fly,
Right.
anywhere and
Uh-huh.
you want to and go anywhere you want to, like we are now. So
Uh-huh.
back then, people were still limited to where they could go.
Yeah.
It wasn't so transient, but now it's more transient. So of course you transfer different pathogens and things of that sort, but I mean, you lived through a lot.
Oh,
You
yes.
lived through a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
let's see.
From 1934 to 2022. That's a good, that goes back a little ways.
I know, and still going.
And still going.
So, I mean, how do you think you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a good person, a person who loves the Lord and know that he loves me, and a person, I love people.
Mm-hmm.
I love people. I'm glad that I know I used to, if people had ways I didn't like them. I liked them. I didn't like the persons.
Mm-hmm.
But God has shown me that I have to love everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Ruth, who killed all those people in Charleston. I don't have to love his ways. I don't have to love his deeds. And God showed me that and taught me that he loved Dylan. He just hate the deed. So I said, okay, Lord, I got to love everybody because you love everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't dislike people and you love them all. If I want to have a place with you when I'm deceased or when I leave this world, because I'm not going to ever die.
Mm-hmm.
Only my body's going to die. Like my life goes back to him.
Mm-hmm. So
And
what is your relationship with God? Where did it all start?
well, it really started the day I was born. My very creation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't realize it, but God knew. And he knew at some point in time that I was going to connect with him and never let go. I didn't know. I didn't know when it was going to be. It wasn't my business to know.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I do know, I got a connection with him that it is forever. It's eternal.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. And I'm satisfied with that. And I'm happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. So when it comes that time for the life to stop on this end and go on the other end, I got a home called heaven.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So what would Alberta today tell your younger self? If you got to meet your younger self, what would you tell her?
Hook up with God.
Okay.
And stay with it. If you ever hook up with him right, you will stay with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we don't die, our bodies die.
Mm-hmm.
And the life that we live is going to hook up with it, with who we serve or who we have faith in. And if you don't have faith, you don't have anything. You got to have faith and something, and my something is God.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
And you instill that in your children.
Oh yeah.
And your grandchildren.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember many times driving to church and you listen to the Clark sisters. and their song, "You Brought the Sunshine." Every time I hear that song, I think about you.
Oh yeah.
In the car,
oh
with
yeah.
cassette tape.
Oh yeah.
Just snapping your fingers.
Oh yeah.
And you're jury, just jamming together. So that's what I definitely remember.
Oh yes.
So, what values did you really instill in your children and your grandchildren? And now you're also a great
Great
grandmother.
grandmother. Now that when I became a grandmother, I was happy,
Hmm.
and that was marvelous. No, I became a grandmother when Cheeky was born. Phyllis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my grandmother. That's my oldest great grandchild. Then there was Gregory, and then there came Marcus,
Uh huh.
and then there came Brian.
And it's
And
like
then
boys, boys,
boys,
boys.
boys, boys, yeah.
Uh huh.
And then I started having the great granddaughters, and oh, those were, oh God, happiness,
Hmm.
happiness, grateful to God for those children, because at one time, I wasn't a mother until I was 32 years old.
Hmm.
That was your mother,
Hmm.
and then look at what God has done for me now. I got great grandchildren.
That's a blessing to see because not everybody gets to see that.
That's right, great grandchildren. And my 80th birthday celebration. When I look at me holding my two great granddaughters and my great grandson and standing in front of me, I said, look at God. Didn't have a child until I was 32 years old.
Hmm.
88 years old. Now I got a slew of grandchildren. Now great grandchildren.
Did you ever picture
No,
this in your mind?
no. God did it. He did it all. He did it all. Because for the first thing, when I first had a baby of my own, 32 years old, oh Lord, I couldn't picture her with children, and now she got grandchildren.
Hmm.
Now I got great grandchildren.
Hmm.
Lord, what a God I serve. I should say we serve, but I know I serve.
Uh-huh.
Yes, 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 yes.
So what kind of mother were you? Like I know that you said that great grandma Martha was the person who raised you. And so what did you take from her that you used in the upbringing of your kids?
Love.
Mhm.
Yeah, love. My grandmother showed me love. She
Mhm.
didn't go around telling me, I love you. She told me she loved me, but I mean, I love you. She showed me love.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I recognized.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because uh I didn't see it coming from anybody else. I know who after I was told who my mother was.
Mhm.
And I brought my mother here to live with me. But she didn't know how to express love or didn't the way my grandmother did.
Mhm.
And I know she loved me.
Yeah. And I would
But you can't
say
live out of
yeah, I would say that me and we call her Grandma Reed, we had a pretty good relationship.
yeah.
Um, I would go back there and I would back in her room and I would watch Touched by an Angel and with her and stuff like that and just kind of just chill. And I pretty much for the most part have fond memories of her, and it's very telling of your character the fact that even though you guys didn't have the typical mother and daughter relationship, that you still took her in
Oh yeah.
and lived together.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
My husband saw that, and he told me one day something happened, and I was crying. He told me, this is your home, and that is your mother, and I'm not trying to get into it. He said, but I want you to understand, you are my wife, and I love you dearly, and I don't want to get into it and go, and say anything to your mother. He said, but I'm going to have to say something.
And you don't want him to say
nothing. and that's what he was trying to get around
to.
And she was after me one day, and he came down the hall. He said, this is this woman's house, and you are going to stop coming out here bothering her. Now that is your area back there, and she's not to come back there and bother you. He said, I know Bert ain't going to bother you until that she's trying to show you love. And I know I've seen her show love. He said, this woman is a loving person. And if you don't know how to show it, you have to stay back there in your home. And that worked for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Grandma Reen, she wasn't the conventional grandmother like we know you.
No.
Like,
oh no.
Especially when it comes to black people, we have, Big Mama. You basically are the big mom. You're the matriarch of the family. So it's very telling that we have such a good relationship together. I would consider you one of my you're my road dog.
I love that. I love that.
Always.
I love that from all of my. I love my grandchildren dearly. I love them dearly. I love them dearly. Because that's a blessing from God. Y'all are blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Blessings. Because here I was at 32. And here all these grandchildren. God blessed me with Tanya. And here come all these grandchildren.
Mm-hmm. And me being a mother, I absolutely just love my girls.
Oh, I know it. Yes, yes.
And I could just look at them all day.
That's a blessing.
I can just hold them all day.
Yes.
I love to make them smile.
Yes.
I love to just give them baths. I really enjoy motherhood.
Yes, yeah. That's a blessing from God.
Yeah, you still to this day help me with them.
Oh yes. Because they're my blood.
Oh yeah.
That comes from me.
Mm-hmm.
And from Phil. I know he would love what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he would love. And I believe he looked down from heaven and see it. I feel it.
Yeah. I think he's definitely happy.
Oh yes.
So what are some of your fondest memories of your kids and your grandkids?
Oh Lord. All of them. To this.
There's a lot. So
There's
let's
a
just
lot.
start. So with my mom, what's some of your most fondest memories of her?
Let's see. I think when she was calling Phil daddy, daddy, she fell in love with her, and he with her. I remember one time, this was before we got married, but we knew we were gonna get married, and me and Philip went to Jamaica Avenue for something. He kept, I'm gonna keep this baby, but this baby ain't going up there on Ohio. Yeah, I'm keeping the baby. And she needed to change it. I never saw so much powder on a baby's butt. He said he didn't want him to get changed, and he powdered that butt so good, powder was coming from everywhere. I remember that, and I laughed about that, and I teased him about that. He said, but I bet she didn't get changed. I said, she sure didn't. I said, but I had to wash all that powder off her butt. But I really did.
Oh, wow. And I couldn't even imagine raising a child back then. I mean, like, I got so many doohickeys and bottles made and things that have the formula and all
Yeah.
that stuff, and
Mhm.
pumps, electric pumps, and I mean, you really did. I feel like you did a lot more with a lot less.
I did. Yes. And it was all. It didn't seem like a whole lot to me.
Uh,
It just seemed like I knew what I had to do, and I know it had to be done. And I love doing it. And when you love doing something, it takes the whatever out of. I don't know what to say, but I enjoy doing it.
uh,
Even changing diapers didn't bother me.
no, it doesn't.
It
'Cause
did not bother me at all. It just came natural.
Yeah, you just want to have a clean baby.
A clean,
Yeah.
a clean baby, and that baby being comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because being dirty, they let you know they don't like it.
No, exactly. They
Yeah.
will.
They let you know I don't like this. This is not comfortable. And I wanted my baby to be comfortable. I loved when my baby smiled at me.
Mm-hmm.
When she first smiled at me, oh my God. And she looked at me and she was smiling at me.
Mm-hmm.
Because she knew I was something that she liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was a beautiful baby.
Yes, she was. Wait a minute. Where my baby's pictures? I guess let's move. But she was a beautiful baby. She really was.
Uh-huh.
She was gorgeous. All of my babies are beautiful. They were. Every last one. Yeah.
Yeah, as Grandpa would say, good stock.
Good stuff. That's right. Yes, indeed. Yes. And Leslie was my heaviest baby. And oh boy. And I couldn't bring Edward home because something was wrong with his breathing.
Uh-huh.
And I was at that hospital every day after I got the hospital he was in. Every day I got Esther would take me out to see him because I would. Yeah. And he was a cute baby too. He was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love him. That's my child.
Mm-hmm.
That's my youngest son. My youngest son. I love him. Yeah. He's just different, and God loves him, and I pray to God for him to keep him every day. I pray for all of my children, all of my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, because God gave them to me. He loaned them to me. They all belong to him, but he loaned them to me for me to enjoy while I can, and I do. I love my children, every last one of them. I love every one of my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my family. Yeah, because God loaned them to me, because they belong to him. Yeah.
So what are you most proudest of when it comes to your children, your grandchildren, and great-grandchildren?
I'm proud that they are well. I'm proud that they're doing well. And I'm just proud because I know they belong to God. But he allowed me to enjoy them, to see them doing whatever they're doing. And I'm just thankful to God for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been such a staple in everybody's lives.
Try to.
And
by the help of God.
Yeah, and even, for me, I know God loves me.
Oh, yes. That's good. I'm glad. Like,
And
you took that after me, your mother.
It may not be something that I can reach out and grab that's
right.
tangible.
That's right.
It's kind of like the air. I can't see it, but I'm breathing.
You breathe it. And if God would hold it for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I think that God has manifested his love.
Yes.
Through you.
Yes.
Because I feel like you are the epitome of God's love.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, that you have shown this to one of my children, my grandchild.
I mean, you clothed me when I was naked.
Yeah.
You housed me when I was homeless. And even in my, very dark times, you were just always present.
Yeah.
And I think that really tells a story of just you just being who you are. And I think one of the most telling stories is when you bought Marcus a car.
And you know what? He was riding bikes in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that, and it was Christmas time.
Yep.
And it seemed like to me somebody was laughing about that. I didn't find that funny. Mm-hmm. I went to bed that night. Mm-hmm. And I said, God, I got to do it. I found that car. That car lasted in about 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I paid for it cash. And when the man brought it to me over there on Bilo Lot, I looked at that car. I said, thank you, Jesus. He didn't know I was going to do it because I didn't know it. Mm-hmm. And when I called, did I call Tanya? Whoever I called. Uh-huh. And I said, you come and get your car. When he came, I said, don't put it in my name. I wanted it in his name. Mm-hmm. And I gave him that car. And that got him started on being able to get to jobs. Mm-hmm.
And that's what you really call planting a seed.
Oh, yeah. Because he was at Bilo doing well. As he could do.
Yeah.
Because that was where he had to go. On the bike. Or on the bus. Wherever. He needed to be where he could get to a job. Mm-hmm. That car got him where he is now. Yeah. Although he's not driving it now. He got a good car.
Yeah, an upgrade.
Upgrade.
And I think that is something that you have instilled in all of us.
Yeah.
Is to really be a family unit.
That's right.
And to help each other.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And to really look out for each other.
That's it. That's right. When you see need, and you can do something about it, do it. Uh-huh. And God just keep on feeding into it.
Exactly. I mean, because I don't know anybody in our family that has ever been in foster care.
No.
And I think exactly, nobody's ever been homeless. And one of the more incredible stories is about our cousin Corey. Our cousin Corey was.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, Corey, in Virginia.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I didn't know who he was. And
I'm gonna tell you who Corey is. He was my cousin, my first cousin, Oliver's daughter, who she never acknowledged. Mm-hmm. My mother's sister. She never acknowledged it. I couldn't tell you where she is to this day. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's I heard about she was in now. She dropped him on the floor in my grandmother's house.
Oh.
And Aunt Reese, or somebody took her to the hospital. And I was in Columbia with my baby, I think God was, which one of my babies must have been, must have had to been, what's that name back there? Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go to the hospital and pick her up the next day after I got from Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And when I picked her up from the hospital with Tori, she laid him on the seat. I said, well, if you don't hold him like he's a baby on the way, because I mean, to do West, you find your way to do West the best you can, because you know, if you don't hold him like he's a baby, like he's a person, you gonna find your way to do West, because you ain't riding in my grandmother's car. She got in, she yelled, when she got to do West, we got to the back door. She laid him on the seat, walked her down. And I know I couldn't take on another baby because I got a baby. My baby is Leslie. And my brother-in-law Lewis, Phil's brother, and his wife, Bernice, they wanted a baby. I called them, they were up there with clothes for the baby that night. He didn't even get to spend the night in my grandmother's house because they came and got that baby. I adopted him and raised him to where he is, well, until he was able to go out on his own. Now he's a preacher. He was a badass though for a while. Oh, he was bad. Gave him all kinds of stuff. Now he's preaching. That's how God does things.
Oh yeah, it's never too late.
Oh, it's never too late. And he is doing well now, and he don't come unless he come out here and see me. He said, because you did it. I said, no, I didn't. God did it. He showed me what to do. And he did it through me. I don't take credit for nothing. It's God. It's all him. And yeah, I knew Marcus needed a car. God just did it through me. And when you were getting ready to go to out west,
I remember that. I remember leaving.
oh my God, I cried. And after I stopped crying, I prayed, told God to take you out there. And when you got out there, he kept you. Because I kept on, I was on God every day. Yes, sir. And when you came back, I prayed for that. I think I talked to you about that.
Yeah.
And God did it. I ain't done nothing.
No,
but trusted in him.
And I've been back ever since. I'm
been
not
back
going anywhere.
That's right. That's right. And he got you in a good place with your parents. God did it. We didn't do nothing. Because we couldn't do anything about it. I asked God to put you in a good place. I didn't ask him where. But he did it. He knew where. And when he does it, that's the right way. We can want and we can ask for things and he'll grant them. But if it's not from him, he'll let us do what we want to do. But if it's not his will, we'll find out later. He'll let us do it. But he got you where you need to be right now. He got you with your parents. And they love you. I know they love you. And they love those kids. And you do what he wants you to do while you're there. And who knows? Those kids may be their salvation as well as yours. God knows. I don't know. But I know one thing. He got it. I don't know what he's going to do. But all I know is It's his will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to work the way he wants it to work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when or how. But that ain't my business. That's his business.
Okay.
Yeah. All I know is his will's gonna be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Oh yeah.
And you know, God's blessed you tremendously with family.
Yes.
And also with a great career. I mean, you've met presidents before.
Oh yeah. I was an award for President Kennedy 2 weeks to the day that he was assassinated.
Oh wow.
President Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I met I saw President Carter. I was invited to a speech where he made downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And I met President Bush, the old Bush.
Yeah.
And he was coming past me where I was sitting and reached out and shook my hand. So I shook a hand with the president.
Oh wow.
I was asked to see President what's his name? God, what was that man's name? But he was sick and didn't come, but his son came. So I didn't get to see him, but I was oh Lord have mercy. Name some of the presidents. If you name
Okay, so
that was before
we got I'm going back. So we got Carter, then we had Reagan, then we had Bush, then we had Bill Clinton, then we had Bush Jr.
that was another one.
Okay, let me go back because I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Okay.
What it was. Because I saw Carter.
Okay. Was the fourth part, was that Nixon?
No, not Nixon.
Not Nixon.
Who was around Nixon? It was around Nixon's time, though. Or who was before Nixon?
Who was before Nixon?
Or after him?
Oh, why can't I remember? Not President Ford.
I think he was Republican. Who it was?
Okay. I'm drawing the brink too, and I should know this.
Yeah, I really should know. And I'm looking at this guy, and I can't think of his name.
It's okay, but you've met presidents.
I've met them.
So,
yeah.
How did you feel after all the stuff you went through as a black woman, living in both the South and up north? How did you feel when you saw Barack Obama get elected? Did you think that you would ever see that in your lifetime?
I didn't think that would ever happen. I thank God. I was almost speechless, but I knew God. With God, all things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew God made that possible.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he say he was made president, but he was there 2 terms,
mm-hmm.
back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know that was God.
Oh yeah.
And I believe if he had run again, I believe he'd have got it. After he was in that 2 years, I believe he would have got it. But I didn't want him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
No. And do you know one thing? That man was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get man didn't give him the credit that he earned.
Mm-hmm.
This guy got back to back. Hey, there was some power behind that.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot. And his successor,
mm-hmm.
like 1 term, and all kinds of stuff going on about this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you got to live to see that historical moment.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
And God ain't finished with me yet. even if he came today,
Uh-huh.
I got Yahweh will carry him.
Mm-hmm. And even so, now we have a woman of color that's also the vice president.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 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 yes. And a lot of people don't like Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I liked him because he stayed with President Obama
Mm-hmm.
throughout. He didn't take off on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't try to take his place. He didn't try to overshadow him.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed under him as vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And now he may have some isms, but don't we all have some kind?
Yeah.
And I like that
Mm-hmm.
for the fact that I don't know if he got some isms, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
He got to deal with that, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the man.
Mm-hmm. So, last question. If you wanted to define yourself in 3 words, what would those words be and why?
I love God.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe those are not the right words. Trust.
So would you say faithful?
Faithful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a visitor.
Yes, we do.
Come here, Kane.
And guess what? They are so faithful to you.
Uh-huh. We love our pets here in this family. Y'all
Yes,
know.
we love our pets. Yes.
So,
And God, I love you because you have given me children, grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren,
mm-hmm.
and allow me to enjoy them, to see them. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God.
So I will say faithful.
Yeah.
And then grateful.
Grateful. Give me another one. It's another one.
You're supposed to come up with these.
I can't think as fast as you can.
Well, I mean, you're thankful. I would say that another thing. So faithful, grateful, and I will say smart. Smart.
God made me that way.
Determined, yeah.
Determined.
Wise.
Yes.
There you go.
Wise.
That's
Yes.
the word.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And I will say, because I've been in the kitchen with you.
Yes.
We're renowned for your cooking.
Thank you.
And you have passed that down to my mom.
That's right. I'm thinking of her.
Who
Yes.
passed it down to me.
To you. That's
and
right.
I'm hoping to pass it down to
After
my
your
girls.
girls. That's right.
So, and I remember me and Brittany,
Yeah.
we didn't want McDonald's. We wanted grandma's neck bones and rice.
McDonald's and rice. Don't leave Brianna out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Brandon.
Yeah.
All of them love grandma's neck bones and rice.
That's a fact. I'm just like, I want some neck bones, and
I would think that we always be coming for the weekend or whatever time you'll come and stay with me. What y'all want? Neck bones and rice.
Yeah.
I said, they don't ask for hamburgers and hot dogs. I'm going to make sure that they have their neck bones and rice and they have as much of it as they want.
Uh-huh.
And I did.
Mm-hmm.
My neck bones and rice went to.
Yes.
Yes.
So faithful, grateful, and wise. I think that pretty much sums you up.